I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Brian Wilson.
Joining us now on the line is former Congressman Alan West. And Colonel West, it's good to have you on the show. I notice that you are full of beans. You're upset, you're angry, you're mad about something that is going on with regards to the shutdown of the government and how it impacts people who have lost a loved one in military service.
Yeah, good morning, Brian and Larry. I am absolutely appalled and disgusted that, this administration and their shutdown strategy is inflicting pain on Americans. And this is an all-time low where you have families not being able to receive their death gratuity, and this comes, of course, on the heels of the tragic loss of life of 4 or 5 of our brave American warriors in Afghanistan over the weekend. And these families are not going to be compensated to fly to Dover to meet the remains of their loved ones and have the funeral expenses covered. And this comes back again to an administration that needs to understand what the priorities are and what should be essential. That they have really been the ones, the president's intransigence, when he does not understand it. Obamacare is not the law of the land, because when you have all these waivers, exemptions, and delays that the executive branch has instituted, then this is about some people having to adhere to a law, but not everyone. And he does not want to make sure that, as a constitutional republic, law applies to everyone. And then the other thing is that 2.3% medical device tax, which is killing our economy, killing the medical device industry, and shipping jobs overseas. So that's it. So the president, Harry Reid, has brought this on, but to inflict pain on our veterans, to now inflict pain upon our families who have lost their loved ones, this is unconscionable. And I think that, all veterans are very upset about this. And I saw the military email networks last night just lighting up.
Well, let me just say that I was contacted by our good friends over at Fisher House, and they're trying to do something about this. And so if somebody listening to this is as outraged as you and I are, maybe they could reach out to Fisher House and work through them, because it's a good organization.
It shouldn't have to be that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It should not be that way.
Yeah, leadership. I mean, Chuck Hagel should just step down as the Secretary of Defense, because this should have never become an issue whatsoever. When you know that something like this is coming, you need to make sure that you have your priorities set and straight. The discretionary funds that you have over there in the Department of Defense budget, you can shift it around. That's why we have him over there. That's why he has a comptroller. But for his spokesperson over there at the Pentagon to try to come back and point fingers at the House of Representatives, which it seems this administration is good at doing, blaming and pointing fingers at others and never taking responsibility, this, like I said, this is just disgusting.
Our guest is Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. And Colonel West, you're in a unique position to comment on this very specific issue because you spent many years in the military, understanding the people in the military and also the bureaucracy at the Pentagon. But you were also in Congress. You witnessed that whole haunted house of dysfunction. So when you understand how Congress works, you understand how the Pentagon works. Why something as fundamental as this about the death benefits for fallen soldiers and their family they left behind, when something like this is shut down and not followed through with, and the shutdown is blamed for it, is this a deliberate act by the administration just to inflict pain to make the Republicans look bad in the House?
Yeah, it's nothing but a deliberate act. And furthermore, I was on the Armed Services Committee and I sat on the Military Personnel Subcommittee. So, for the Pentagon to try to play this blame game of saying, well, the military pay and everything that deals with the active duty and what have you, the people in uniform, we didn't have anything to do with the families. That's just a lie. That's just an excuse, and excuses are not warranted in this. This is about leadership.
All right, so Colonel West, let's talk about leadership, because your former leader there in the House, Speaker of the House, John Boehner, he was asked about this at his press conference yesterday, and he gave a 15-second answer and said, basically, it's unconscionable, and we'll be passing a bill, and I sure hope the president signs it. Is that enough? I mean, if you were Speaker of the House, what would you be doing right now?
Well, if I was...
And by the way, a lot of our listeners just got really excited at that vision of Speaker of the House, Alan West.
Well, look, if I was Speaker of the House, this would have been resolved last night. First of all, it wouldn't have come up as an issue. This would have been taken care of, but no one would have gone to sleep last night until this was taken care of, whether it was about the House passing legislation or getting, Chuck Hagel off of his duff and making him, be the Secretary of Defense and taking care of the families of the fallen that he is charged to not just take care of our uniformed service members, but also the families thereof. So, and I would have just kept the president up all night to make sure that this legislation was taken care of, or that his Department of Defense had taken care of this.
So much criticism is being laid at the feet of the House Republicans who are standing their ground on this. But the way I look at it, and I suspect you look at it the same way, is that these people who are in the House of Representatives who stand against Obamacare were sent to Congress by the voters in their districts to do this. They made it very clear that they were going to be against Obamacare when they ran. They got elected. Now they're doing their very best. And what tools do they have? What constitutional tools do they have at their disposal? Well, they have the power of the purse. Correct. And yet the president says, oh, they're holding us ransom. From my perspective, he may not like it, but what they're doing is using the constitutional tools that they have been given to make a point that they think is very important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for the president to, call himself a constitutional scholar, he once again shows that he does not understand the Constitution nor, legislative procedure. Furthermore, he does not understand what raising the debt limit means. Also, he continues to embarrass himself when he, tries to articulate his version of that. So, yes, the president needs to understand that all revenue bills, generated out of the House of Representatives, or they have to come back to the House of Representatives for final approval, because that's their constitutional responsibility. But again, Brian and Larry, this comes down to one simple thing. Is Obamacare the law of the land? If it is, it applies to everyone. No waivers, no exemptions, no delays. If you're delaying the employer mandate, then why the hardworking American not get the delay also?
Yeah, that's a great question. And maybe that is where this compromise is going to end up. Obviously, defunding isn't going to happen, but maybe we delay that individual mandate as well, and that's where everybody gets to save a little face. Colonel West, I just want to circle back really quickly on this because I want to make sure I get you on the record. You're saying that Defense Secretary Hagel, he could resolve this problem himself unilaterally, without Congress, without the Senate, without the president. He could do it. He hasn't, and you're calling on him, if he doesn't resolve this issue with death benefits, you're calling on him to resign.
Yes, I mean, this is deplorable that the Secretary of Defense would allow, our families to be put in this situation, and where Americans are going to the Fisher House to try to raise funds for this family to go meet the remains of their loved ones. This is a lack of accountability and responsibility. This should have never come up. Chuck Hagel should have made sure that this was taken care of. It should have never gotten to the media. It should have never been a story, and he should have stood up, manned up, and said, I got this.
Man up, Secretary.
All right. Former Congressman Allen West, Lieutenant Colonel West, thank you so much for joining us.
We'll get this soundbite out there, and it'll be interesting to see the Pentagon press briefing today, see if anybody asks the